Doc Moody's YouTube channel continues with the series on Lobsterman, Maine's first superheroes. In these last several episodes, I've talked about just about everything under the sun, except between issues 2 through 10, the number of characters that popped up. In issue 2, a villain, an arch villain, called Red Tide. And in issue 3, Enrique Calamari and another character called Farouk El Fahid. And as we talked a little bit about Amanda Flame, Lobsterman, or Charlie Kimball's high school sweetheart, Amanda went on to get her doctorate, her PhD in marine biology, and she has another PhD. I forget in what, but the story will tell you if you buy the copy and read it. Amanda turns out to be an eco-terrorist, and she goes by the code name Seahorse. And as it turns out, she discovers Lobsterman is actually Charlie Kimball, and they reestablish a bond. Not necessarily Amanda interested in, romantic connection with her old flame, but it turns out that Pearly Stone had a crush on Amanda Flame's little sister, who turns out to also be a superhero named Sand Dollar. Isn't that cute? Anyway, she's a carbon copy of her big sister. And in issues 4 and 5, we introduced a couple of more characters. One is Lobsterman and Clamdigger and Deep Doodoo, and Amanda Flame and Sand Dollar come along to try and help them out, and they get into Deep Doodoo. Another character emerges, Bruce Shane. Yes, it's a ripoff, a comedy of Batman and Bruce Wayne, but his name is Albatross, and he's just a really goony bird kind of costume, and he flies around with rockets and things because he's also a multimillionaire, and he's got all these different, all these different things going on in his life that are, living on a mansion on the Maine coast, blah, blah, blah. But in issue number 5 or 6, we have Lobsterman and Clamdigger get a message from the post office, a postcard. And they're looking at the postcard, but they can't tell where it's from. It's only signed Slipstream Sally. So they go to the Belslow post office and they ask Lucy, the clerk. And she looks at the card, gives them the once over, and she tells them that the zip code is actually from, TR7, whatever. And so they go to the post office at TR7, and there's a ma and a pa character sitting on the porch, a couple of hillbillies, literally. Their farmer jeans and their coveralls, and they're sitting there playing a checker game, and there's cobwebs. They've been sitting there so long trying to wait for the next guy to make a move, Ma and Pa. And it turns out that Ma is actually a guy named Martin, and Ma is just short for that. Well, they tell him that they tell Lobsterman and Clamdigger that Slipstream Sally is actually a woodcutter, and he's living back in the woods, but they've got to go like 30 miles, through mosquito and black fly infested forest, and they go and they go and they go. While they're out there, they come across a skeleton and a bunch of different stuff, and they're pretty much doomed. They're thinking they're going to die. This was the worst mistake they ever made, going into the Maine North Woods. And, leaving the booming metropolis, the urban beauty and high tech of Belslow. Well, they get back there and they discover what Slipstream Sally was talking about was a nuclear dump. Yes, toxic waste being dumped in the Maine North Woods. There was actually a story about that in the paper. I don't know if you remember or not, but anyway, Slipstream Sally has to come along and rescue the rescuers in his turbocharged skidder. And he turns into a superhero called the Backwoodsman. And in issues 8 and 9, we introduce a whole flock, an insane number of stupor heroes. You know, like Super Guy, Marsupial Man, Arachno Man. The X-Men make an appearance, but it's not X, it's EX, as in, transgender. Yes, yes, yes. Actually, back in 1990, we were talking about transgender. So anyway, the comedy, the silliness, the insanity, uh, Lobsterman, Maine's for superheroes.